What up, it's your boy, the Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again. And if you guys didn't know, man, I was super sick, and that's why everything is all kinds of late. But I am back at it again, man, and this is New Amsterdam Season 3, Episode 10. And let's just dive right into it because it was a little bit of a letdown this episode for me. Let's get into it, man. Overall, there was some moments and some aspects that I did enjoy about this episode, but ultimately it kind of just fell a little flat for me, man, because now with New Amsterdam, you guys know I love this show, and I am still holding out for Max and Sharp, and I'll talk about that later in this video. But it seems like every week it's something revolving around something that's systematic in society, whether it's dealing with one race individually or a race as a whole or certain characters. Like, that's been the whole trend with this season. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there is, but I'm just saying, like, hopefully start to just get back to like the actual development in the show itself. I'm not knocking that they're constantly doing it, but I'm just saying now we're doing it each and every episode. Sure, there's other things going on in these episodes, but every week is, well, we're fighting injustice for this part. We're fighting injustice for this. And don't come at me like I'm one of those people like, well, should we stand up for, we should stand up for injustice. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't. And I think that TV shows should be relatively focusing on the issues that's at hand, that's in society, that's in the media and everything like, and I have no problems with that, but we're doing it every week. We don't have to do it every week. And that's why I feel like this episode felt a little flat for me, because of that ultimately, and then trying to cram all of the stuff that they're dealing with this episode. They tried to cram it all in there together, and it just felt like everything was just a little bit rushed to me. They solved everything by the end of the episode, but it felt like everything was just a little bit rushed. Now, the whole Native American aspect this episode, I get that. Like, the land was taken from them and the lady doesn't want to be treated, but the only thing that upset me the most is like, well, I don't want to be treated by an American doctor and all this other stuff that's going on. But if he doesn't treat you, you're going to die for sure. And that was revealed later at the end of the episode, where she almost did die. And she was willing to sacrifice her life for this fight. But now we see that Max is one of those people that, like, if you tell him something like that, he's going to try to fight it, try to make a stand and try to get your point and your statement across. And he done that this episode, even got like a plaque to put up in the hospital, because he tried to change the actual name of the hospital, but we knew that wasn't going to fly. But he actually got a plaque put up representing those people, and I think that was a good part on Max's behavior, because that's just who Max is as a character. But this lady was willing to die for her fight. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're assassinated or something like that, that's different. Someone came after you and you didn't get to live to see through your fight. But there is the possibility that you could live and you choose to die instead of actually continuing your fight. That's different. And I didn't really enjoy that part of this episode. I'm sure it made her determination, go a little further, but I just didn't really like that aspect. And in the long run, Max ended up saving her because of the students and everything. And I felt like, had she chose to live on her own, you could have continued this fight with Max. And, you guys could have talked about some more problems and everything, and tried to come up with different resolutions. But in the end, she ended up living anyway. And Max came up with this wonderful idea to start a program to get more Native American people to become doctors, because in this episode, we learned that there is no Native American doctor on the entire staff of New Amsterdam, which is a lot of people, but there's no Native American doctor. And we learned that, a lot of time in this episode, I don't know how true it is, but, it was brought up in this episode that this one girl wanted to pursue the path of a doctor, and her teacher guided her towards architecture or building planning or something like that. So if that's the case, well, that's kind of messed up, man. But Max set up this whole program to get them to learn more about becoming doctors, a scholarship, and also the ones that received the scholarship, them giving back to the different Native American communities and everything, and tribal lands, to teach the people that want to become doctors about a mentoring program and becoming doctors. So I feel like that whole process was in the right, it was a nice direction in the right step, and I give him credit for that. And the ending part is what I loved most about that whole thing in particular. Everything else was, oh, it was good and it was cool, but I like the ending part the most. Let's talk about Bloom while we're on the subject of stuff that I didn't like. Now, out of 2 years, I feel like we haven't had really kind of any kind of inclination that Bloom was gay. I don't feel like we haven't had any arrows pointed in that direction, if you will. Now we know that she's had a sordid past and she never really had a successful relationship, and all of the stuff with the drugs and the stuff that's going on with her mother. Like, we know that, she had some stuff going on, but they never hinted at this. And then all of a sudden this chick kisses her because she's so happy that Bloom let her live with her, take her off the streets, and she had more chances to study. So now she could become a doctor in the United States. And she just wanted to thank Bloom, and she kissed her, and Bloom just ran out. I'm not upset about that as a whole. I'm just saying, like, it seems like this, like, we knew, you guys called it from the jump that this was going to be the direction that they were going to take this whole thing in. And I'm not upset. I'm upset about the part is that we had no inclination that this was even, like, this was even in Bloom's radar. Like, I don't know, man, but like, we see that this episode, it was hinting towards that when we get introduced to the polyamorous couple and his whole little thing that's going on with all of his people. And the thing with that is, if they love each other, man, it is what it is. That's their life. They have to live their life. You can't live your life for someone else, and someone else can't live your life. It's your life. That is it's in the title. It's your life. You got to live it how you want to. However you see fit is your life. You want to go around robbing banks? You go rob a bank. That is your life. You want to go around blowing up buildings? Please don't. But if you want to, that is your life. If you want to date 6, 7 different people at a time, that is your life. And you do that if that pleases you. I'm just saying. And we see that Reynolds kind of had a semi-problem with it, but not because of the whole situation as a whole, but because, he feels like he may not be able to actually share the person that he loves with someone else. And I feel like that was another detour that they were angling with this episode, is because now we see that, like, the OBGYN doctor lady, the head of the OB unit or whatever, seems like she might kind of like Reynolds a little bit. Like, we see them flirting. Now, it could be, innocent. Like she just wanted someone to talk to and someone to listen to music with. It could be innocent. But at the end of the episode, we see them kind of interacting with each other, and they're listening to music with one pair of headphones, and Reynolds looking at her, and he kind of focuses on her ring, and she looks at him, and then he takes it. Like, they're having these whole little moments, and then it kind of goes back to what Reynolds was saying while dealing with the polyamorous couple, was that the polyamorous relationship dude, I don't know if I really want to share my love with someone else. So could she be one of those people that, maybe her and her husband have like an open relationship or whatever, and she was just trying to fill out Reynolds, or maybe, I don't know. It seems like that's the direction that this is going as well. And I love New Amsterdam so much, but now we're dealing with so many other things that, like, they didn't even lay the groundwork for. It's just boom, bam, and okay, well, this is happening, so deal with it. And I don't like the direction that we're going with the Reynolds or the Bloom situation. I mean, it just came out of left field for me. But I don't know, man. I digress. We see that the cases that's been, we talked about the Native American lady, and we talked about Reynolds' case. It ended up being like a what was it? Parrot something. Like, they ended up getting pecked by this parrot, and they caught some kind of disease, but it was relatively easy for them to figure it out once they knew the whole situation, because he had a wife, he had like a relationship going on, so like there's a lot of stuff going on with that. But I mean, if that's what floats your boat, ride the wave, man. So they end up solving his case. Now let's talk about Iggy this episode, because we see that Iggy is dealing with someone that's having the whole body shaming issues as well, like he's having, because she feels like nobody's on her side. Her mother's not on her side, Iggy's not on her side, so she decides that she wants to have gastric bypass surgery to lose the weight. Now, don't get me wrong, it may or may not work. For sure, we know that it may or may not work, and there's a possibility that you could get super sick from doing this, but this chick just doesn't care. She feels like her losing this weight is going to make her super happy, And that's not the case, man. And Iggy tried to get that point across to her, but her mother just, because the chick was gone, and she really needed help, and she didn't want it. She feels like losing this weight is just going to make her life a whole lot better. You got to learn to love yourself before you can share that love with anybody else or anything like that. Now, I'm not like no psychiatrist. I know what Iggy is. It's just my mind playing tricks on me. But anyway, um, I'm not a therapist, put it like that. I'm not, so I can't really weigh in on that situation as much, but I know for a fact you have to love yourself before you try to get someone else to love you or share that love with someone else. You gotta love yourself. And she doesn't love the body that she's in, and she just wants to have this surgery thinking that that's going to make everything better. And it may for a little while, but she still has these underlying issues in her mind and her mental instability that she has to get fixed first. So I felt like if she would have went to an actual treatment facility and got those dealt with, and then she wanted to, after that, and after still exercising a little bit more, still wanted to come back and have the surgery, then maybe we could try it then. Because Iggy tried to lay it out flat for her, and she just didn't want to hear it, man. She started bashing Iggy, and he tried to give her a perspective and understanding, even, using his situation. He was like, well, why we talking about you? It ain't my fault that you fat. And, she went all off on Iggy, man. Now, she came back and apologized. And for me, don't get me wrong, an apology helps in certain situations, but stuff like that, that's stuff that you meant to say. Like, you meant to say, oh, well, I apologize. I ain't mean to say that like that. No, you meant every word that you said, but now that the situation is, we're in the situation that we're in, now you want to apologize and be sorry that you said it. No, it's too late. You're like, you didn't have to say that to me. But Iggy didn't have to bring up his situation as well in that moment. But I feel like it was relevant because he was trying to get her to understand, but she just didn't want to hear any of it. And by the end of the episode, her mother signed the slip. So she's going to go have this gastric bypass surgery, and they're all giddy and happy. And Iggy heads home to talk to his husband about it, because he had a rough day. And hopefully everything goes well for her. I hope so. And we find out that after Iggy got rid of Chase, was it Chance? I think it was Chase. But anyway, after he got rid of him, he became his husband's patient. And I feel like, I think it's Chance. I want to say it's Chance. Anyway, I think dude is obsessed with Iggy now because he had to know that was Iggy's husband, right? He had to know, and that's why he chose to do that and leave his hat and everything. I felt like he let all this up for a purpose, right? Because he knows what he's doing. And I'm really intrigued to know how this is going to play out, because I hope nothing doesn't happen to Iggy or his husband or his family, because we know that this dude is crazy, because we see for a fact he's lying to Iggy's husband, talking about he's a former vet, and we know for sure he's not a veteran. Dude, this episode, like I said, like there was a lot of moments that I really loved about this episode. Then there were moments that the new head of neurology. I know I'm all over the place, man, because I'm trying to think about a lot of stuff that I enjoyed about this episode. Dr. Ko stood up for herself. Now, we see that the new head of neurology, she's trying to tear down all of the stuff that Dr. Kapoor built. Iggy tried to talk to her. Oh, she's annoyed and hates Iggy. And she's trying to stick Sharp with the bill, like they're both of their departments are setting up, like they team up and they share a lot of resources, and she's trying to split their departments and make Sharp cover the bill. And Sharp tells Dr. Cole, you're like, hey, this ain't right. And she's like, well, I know, because I was obsessed with her because I looked up to her, and now I realized that she is not at all what she's cracked up to be. And at the end of the episode, we see that Dr. Cole comes and tells her that she's fired because I didn't have the authority to hire you, but I am interim head of neurology, so I have the authority to fire you. And I think that's the highlight of this episode one of the highlights of this episode for me, because she needed to be fired. She didn't care about the patients. She didn't care about anything else except for money. And I think that's all she was all about. So it's a good thing that they fired her and got rid of her before she dug her little hooks in even further. The highlight of the episode for me was we see that Sharp brought her niece to work this week, and because, we know that she quit school and she went and got her GED, so Sharp took her to work with her. She was either going to work or go to school, so she had to go to work. And she took her there to input a whole bunch of files into the computer. Then next thing you know, Max comes in to have a conversation with Sharp, and she's like, oh, okay. Is this the doctor that you was dating? She was like, oh, okay. He's like, no. Oh, and then Max finds out that her and Cassian broke up. So now we're looking at this situation, and Max was like, oh, no, we never dated. I mean, there was this time, and, every time it's just, Max was fumbling over his words, and him and Helen both were embarrassed. And we see that Mina was like, oh, okay, I see you guys. I see you. And then at the end of the episode, we see that Max and Sharp have a wonderful moment. They hug, they get real close face to face, and they almost kiss. They almost kiss yet again. And boom, bam, Sharp mentions that I'm glad that we're friends. Dude, it's been 3 years, man. Are you kidding me? We can't even get them to even just kiss once. I mean, I love the build up. I love the tension. I love the possibility of will they, won't they. But every single time, it's always right there. And then boom, bam, something happens and we can't get them to kiss. I want this kiss so bad because I feel like this episode really led it up to a better conclusion than anything else. And Max finds out that Sharp and Cassian aren't back together anymore. Like, they're broken up. So this is the perfect opportunity. And I feel like when they were on the roof, like, that was the moment that kiss was coming. It was definitely incoming. And I felt Sharp knew that too. That's why she mentioned that, I'm glad that you're my friend. And that's the entire episode, man. And like I said, there was a lot of moments that I loved and enjoyed, but it was a little for me. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think, because overall I enjoyed the episode. There was a lot of moments and highlights that I did enjoy, but it was a little flat for me this week, man. This is your boy, Incredible, man. Don't forget to smash the like button till you can't smash any more. Comment down below and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.
I cannot complain because today, I'm doing